Hello, everyone, and welcome to High Top Sports Network for another preseason preview here on HTSN, brought to you by the fine folks at TGIF Solutions. TGIF Solutions, insurance for what matters. Today, I'm joined by Kiski Area head girls varsity coach Nick Dizon for a little season preview, talking about what to expect from the Cavaliers this season. So, Coach, you've had summer workouts, a little fall training, but now, hey, mandatory started up. You got the whole team in the gym now. So what are some things that you've seen early on in training camp and maybe in a couple of scrimmages that lead you to be optimistic for this season?
Yeah, thanks for having me. One thing I have been happy with and pleased with is we have a little more depth than we've had before. We've been playing about 9 in our scrimmages, and everybody's helping to a degree with what we need. In the past, we haven't always been able to go that deep on our bench. So that's helped us try to change some things early on that we want to do throughout the season. And having those amount of kids also helps in practice too, because now you're getting good reps with your first team and your second team. And then our JVs have been coming along as well. So it's been noticeable in practice, and in the games, I realized that we do have more depth than we've had before.
And talk a little bit about that depth. I know you have a few returning starters coming back, and also some new players kind of to look out for. I know you're returning Carly Keller, Abby Johns, and Cora Coleman. So what kind of jump have they made from last year to this season that's making you feel pretty good about the season? And then what can we expect, and who are some of the newcomers to keep an eye out for?
Yeah, so each one of those girls has improved on one thing, at least one thing. I mean, they've improved a little more, but a couple things have been noticeable. All 3 of those players you mentioned are very versatile, and that has been evident, and that helps us a lot. Another thing, going into what I said about the depth, this is the hardest it's been to decide, who my lineup's going to be. And this year, honestly, with our 9 players, we could really start any one of those kids at any time. It'll depend on a lot of different things. But Carly coming back has been a 3-year starter, has started most of the games of her career. Abby will be a sophomore this year, started every game last year, and Cora as well. And then we have some other girls in that sophomore group that played some minutes last year. Emma Peck is a guard forward that came off the bench last year. She's been doing some good stuff in practice. Zoe Holm has shown us a lot in practice, has improved a lot from last year. And then our other senior, Riley Hanen, has been around. Great program kid, always is doing the right things, encouraging her teammates, and has helped us as well. And then we have Lexi Coliani returning, who missed all of last season. Lexi was a second team all conference her freshman year, hurt her hip last year and didn't get to play the second. Having her back has been a nice boost for the team morale and her abilities on the floor. And then 2 freshmen we've been using a lot. Freshman Maddie Joyce, she's a strong guard for us. And then Rakaya Garcia is like a versatile player who plays a little inside and has also played on the outside in the past. Those are the main 9 we've been using in our scrimmages for our varsity lineup. And like I said, they each offer something different. And my job as a coach now is to try to blend it together and find the right groups that work together and the right times for each of those players to make an impact to help us be successful.
So you guys have a pretty tough section. I think that's pretty fair to say. I don't know how many more competitive sections there are in the WPIAL than Class 5A Section 2. It was a lot of parity last year in the section. Of course, you had Fox Chapel out in front, but a lot of teams either 500 or better. So just talk a little bit about how the section's looking this year and what it's like to play against so many quality teams.
That was honestly one of the first things I noticed my first year at Kiski is the section's a dogfight every game. I think most of the time any team can win a game. And what's difficult about it is everybody is very well coached. A lot of very disciplined teams in our section. And that's what you see. You'll see teams that are maybe floating around 500 beat one of the top teams in the section. Because I think one of the things, like you said, with being so competitive is it is very balanced. I think we have some top teams in our section, that have some great players coming back. But it's always been like that. It's always kind of been like a chess match, so to speak. It's always can go either way sometimes. And we've gotten close in a few games near the end of last season. And our goal is to break through and start turning those close games into wins for us. But every night you go and you have to be prepared because your opponent's prepared, their personnel's prepared. So, that's our job to do our homework and get our kids as ready as possible to play in these big games.
Now going into your fourth season, taking over in 2018, now entering season 4, what are some of the things that you've learned personally? Like, what are some areas that you've grown in as a coach over those years, and how has it helped your team out in those as you've grown as a head coach?
That's a great question. I've learned a lot about game planning from other teams. You kind of get an idea of how the section goes, the personnel that's in it. You start to know each other well, because you're playing each team twice a year. Sometimes you play them again in the summertime. And for us, I realized it's really about teaching a lot. You can have a plan, but you have to be able to adapt the plan and teach when necessary. Because honestly, a plan's only going to work if you have the personnel for it. And I think you have to be confident enough to stick to your plans, but humble enough to realize, okay, well, maybe we need to tweak this for this group. And I think the group we have this year, kind of piggybacking off that, is a little bit different than stuff I've done in the past. But for me as a coach, like, part of growing there is knowing here's what we can change in order to do that. So I think the biggest thing I learned is, like, you have to look at the personnel every single year, and you can have your philosophies, you can have your principles, but it's okay to tweak them to meet the groups that you have coming up. And a lot of our coaches in our section do that too. And, just kind of watching people do that, I think, has been one of the biggest things that I've learned.
Jake DeLuca here with Kiski girls coach Nick Dizon, and for this TGIF Solutions preseason preview. The next question I got for you here, Coach, is looking at how you guys have done the past few years, still searching for that section win. What's it going to take this year to not only get that section win, but be one of the players come postseason talk?
So it's going to take competing every day, and we made an emphasis on that when we're in practice. We do a lot of competitive drills because I want our kids to have that fire, that desire to win the drill or to win the play, which ultimately translates to winning the game. And for us, we kind of broke things down. Like, we're using the analogy, like, we're trying to build a puzzle as the season goes on, right? And when you find one piece of that puzzle, it never loses value, but you can't forget about it. And then you're going to try to add the next one. So we kind of set our goals for the season and viewing it that way, good to accomplish goal 1. Okay. But that goal 1 will help us accomplish goal 2. Then the goal 3. And then at the end of the year, you can see how much you accomplished. But we're just trying to understand, we got to win every day. We got to win in practice every day, whether it's a 2-hour practice where we're competing the entire time, or whether it's an hour and a half practice where we're game planning. You got to compete, whether it's a mental practice, a physical practice. And having that desire to compete, I think, will help us in those tight moments as the season goes on.
Now I want to jump over here and talk a little bit about Playstyle. For the fans and the community that's checking out this interview here, what would you tell them to kind of get them excited about the season? What type of Playstyle are you guys going to cater to? And I guess just what can people expect whenever they see you out on the hardwood this season?
Yeah, I think one thing you can expect, you're going to see our kids hit the ground hard. They're going to play hard. They're going to compete. We want to get a reputation of being a scrappy team, a team that will make the dirty plays, so to speak, dive on the floor, take charges. That stuff we take pride in. I think we have a really energetic group, and, without giving too much, I think you'll see that you're going to see a group that's going to play with energy. With that 9 that we have, each one of those kids, when they come in, whether it's for 3 minutes, whether it's for 5 minutes, whatever the situation is, we want to gain that identity of being like a hardworking, tough team who's going to do those things. And that like, for us, toughness means a lot of different things. Toughness doesn't mean, I can go hit somebody. Toughness means I'm going to find a way to box this kid out and get that rebound, or I'm going to dive on the floor for that loose ball, or I'm going to run the floor hard. Like, those are what we define as tough plays. And, we're trying to develop that tough mentality.
Now, you guys have a pretty good mix of underclassmen and upperclassmen, and that's a great thing. You have the upperclassmen that can kind of take the underclassmen underneath their wings. And then for the underclassmen, that's an extra spark maybe off the bench or in whatever role, somebody, fresh in there to, bring a different aspect to the game. So what's it kind of been like chemistry wise for the team? And do you see that as an advantage as well as having some, young blood in there, as well as a lot of veteran seniors too?
Yeah, I definitely think it's an advantage. We do a lot of playing in the off season together, whether it's AAU, whether it's summer league. So the 12th graders have been playing with these 10th graders and some of these 9th graders for a couple of years now. And then Alexi's the 11th grader. We've been trying to build that chemistry. Last year we played a lot of young kids. We played 4 freshmen a good bit. And then Lexi would have been playing if she wasn't hurt. But now those sophomores are young, but they're kind of more experienced young. And we're hoping that, some of the lumps we took last year, won't translate to this year. And I think having the seniors there helps. Like I said, Riley and Carly and Deja Burnett, who won't be starting the season with us. They're great senior leaders. They pick each other up. And that's something I've noticed in practice too. I like seeing that. And we're trying to build like that family atmosphere too, on top of, being hardworking, being tough. We got to support each other. And I think the upperclassmen understand that, and the underclassmen want to do that as well. And we're hoping that kind of pushes us. Having a blend of both, I think, is good, because it puts the upperclassmen in a situation where they have to learn to lead a little bit. And it's not just a bunch of underclassmen trying to figure it out by themselves. They have some seniority to look to. And I do think having that blend helps. And I think it's exciting for us moving into this season and moving forward as well.
Absolutely. And I'm looking forward to watching the Cavaliers this season on High Top Sports Network. If you can't make it to the game, we got you covered. Just tune into hightopsportsnetwork.com, catch all the action live. And I'll leave you with this last question here, Coach. Obviously, last season, not a conventional season for anybody by any means, but this year, you're going to start getting more fans back into the arena and, more of a normal sense of what it's like to play basketball, at the varsity level. So talk a little bit about, what that's going to mean for the team, having the community back in the gym, showing their support.
It's funny you said that, because I was thinking about that a couple of weeks ago. And for our sophomores, they haven't really had a true varsity basketball experience yet. We were allowed to have 2 people per player in games last year, but I think that's going to generate some excitement. I think the kids will like to have that, play in front of their friends, play in front of their families. A lot of our girls played volleyball and soccer in the fall, so they got to experience a little bit of a crowd. Both teams did pretty well this year. So now to translate that onto the hardwood, for basketball, I think will be exciting. But I think that's going to be an uplift for everybody. I mean, everybody at some point, even if you weren't shut down, the effects of COVID were felt, through programs across the WPIAL. But now to have like more of a quote unquote normal type of feeling, knowing that at least as of now, we're going to have a more normal season. That's exciting for me, and it's exciting for our players as well. And that also kind of teaches us you can never take a second for granted. And like that's kind of what we talk about in practice. We got to take every day and appreciate every day we have.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, I appreciate the time. That's been Kiski Area girls head coach for the varsity team, varsity basketball team, Nick Dizon. I've been Jake DeLuca. This has been brought to you by Wrong Side, your friends, TGIF Solutions, insurance for what matters. Looking forward to seeing the Cavaliers on the hardwood this season, Coach, and looking forward to talking to you a little more as the season progresses here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Jake.